Hi, I'm Cynthia Kane, best-selling author of How to Communicate Like a Buddhist, Talk to Yourself Like a Buddhist, and How to Meditate Like a Buddhist, the CEO and founder of the Kane Intentional Communication Institute, where we work with high-achieving individuals to help them experience more calm and peace so that they can show up authentically in their most important relationships. And today, I'm going to share with you there are nine essential practices to becoming less reactive in your conversations and in your interactions. We have looked at the 3 habits that we do that keep us reacting in the same way, and today I want to share with you the practices that you can start doing, implementing to become less reactive. So these are individual practices that are going to really help you become more responsive. And what I suggest you do is that you just choose one and you practice it for a week, and then you move on to another. Okay, so here's number 1. The first practice that is essential to becoming less reactive is non-attachment. So the more you can become an observer of yourself and others, the easier it is to start responding instead of reacting. Why? Because by becoming an observer, you are not attached to the words that the person is saying or attaching meaning to words or actions. You are not getting caught up in the words or actions of someone else. Instead, you are simply noticing what is happening. Oh, this person just said this. I don't have to react to that. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to engage with it. I can simply see it and let it be there. And I can choose how I want to respond to it. The practice here is that, you start to notice attachment and see if in that moment you can see what that moment would look like without being attached. So the first essential practice is that of non-attachment. The second essential practice is listening. So the reason that we react the way that we do is because we don't truly listen. We are in our heads most of the time and coming from a lens of me and my and I. And in Buddhism, it's really called like the me plan, right? Your role in an interaction, though, is to allow the other person to share and express themselves, to be helpful and to be there for them, to allow them to be themselves. So listening is so important because what we want to be able to do is we want to start to notice our want to react in the same way that we normally do, and then instead to see the person in front of us as somebody that we care for and that we want to listen to and that we want to support and that we want to respect. So we say to ourselves in those moments to stay open and ask yourself, how can I be helpful to this person right now? How can I make this conversation easier for us right now? The third essential practice is what I call the beat, the breath, and the pause. So when you are in a stressful communication or when you are in an interaction that is uncomfortable, remind yourself before you say anything to take a beat, a breath, and then a pause. And this slows the interaction down and it gives you space to really detach from what's been said or done, right? That non-attachment piece that I mentioned before, so that you can come back into your body, come back into your parasympathetic nervous system, and really choose to respond with all your faculties intact. The fourth practice that is essential for becoming less reactive is meditation. Meditation trains the brain to really focus on one thing at a time, to be in the present moment and become more responsive instead of reactive. So what it does is it helps you become more of that observer, that non-attached feeling, to be able to see clearly. So through meditation, you really start changing your relationship to your thoughts so that you're no longer being led by them. And instead, what you're learning to do is you're learning to see them, to thank them for sharing, to thank them for being there, and then coming back into that present moment. Because it's in the present moment that you get to choose to keep the integrity of the conversation intact, to keep it helpful and to keep it kind. So you want to start to practice accessing the present moment in the moment that you're in. So you begin to see if maybe you're about to go into passive aggressive mode or to become defensive or to lash out, and you start to see that as more distraction so that you can see it and then you can come back to the present moment. The fifth essential practice is attention. So practicing where you're putting your attention really helps you become more responsive, because the reason we react the way we do is oftentimes because our attention is on the wrong things. Our attention tends to be outward, and it tends to be also on our own fears, our insecurities, or right, like what the other person is doing that is wrong or that affects us in a negative way. So our attention is most of the time on what's not going well or what could be better or what we don't have or what we need. So starting to practice moving your attention to that which you do have, what is working, the possibility of something, right? That helps us not to dwell in the stress. And the less stressed we are, the more patience we have, and the more patience we have, the more open we are to listening to others and seeing through a different lens instead of jumping to conclusions or making assumptions, right? Number 6, the sixth practice that's essential for becoming less reactive is generosity. So the practice of generosity within communication looks like sharing and letting go. It looks like not interrupting and allowing others to finish speaking, being present for the other person that you're with, supporting without trying to fix or give advice, but to simply be there, right? Allowing the people that you're with to be as they are. So to practice generosity in your interactions, just see if you can infuse it into your conversations, coming with this attitude of generosity. The seventh essential practice is rest. This is really, really overlooked. But without proper rest and sleep, the easier it is for us to be on this tight fuse and slip into our default reaction. So I tell my students, on days where you have gotten a lot of rest, those are the moments where you're going to start to really notice the calm and the ease with interactions. But for those days where you have not gotten a lot of rest, that is when you have to truly remind yourself that today it's my responsibility to be even more kind, my responsibility to be even more honest, more helpful in my interactions. And if you have problems falling asleep at night, I definitely recommend doing a yoga nidra meditation before you go to bed. 8, essential habit, impermanence. Okay, so what do I mean when I say this? The practice of impermanence really means reminding ourselves throughout the day that all things change and that nothing lasts. By doing this, it can really help us in stressful communication because it helps us see that every moment changes and that emotion changes and that anger changes. So if we give ourselves some time within our interactions to just remember that we can let go of what we can feel, right? Because we can let go of what we can feel is as permanent, it helps us, right? Why hold on to what's been said or done? It's already changing anyway, right? The moment is already passing anyway. So the possibility of change without stress, that's what you're giving yourself if you start to remind yourself daily of this idea that nothing lasts. And number 9, the essential practice for reducing reactivity is loving kindness. So practicing loving kindness reminds us that we all want the same things: to know love, to know joy, to know peace, to be free from our struggles or our doubt, our anxiety, or our worry, to live in this state of ease and enjoy our lives, right? And this helps us become more responsive because we no longer see others as separate from us. So I know that was a lot of information. Those are the 9 essential practices to become less reactive. But what I suggest doing is just get started with one, pick one and try one for a week. And then move on to the next one. And what you'll soon see is less reactivity and more space and time for you to think and respond in a way that you respect and feel good about. So I'm just going to name the essential practices one more time. It's non-attachment, it's listening, it's beat, breath, pause, it's meditation, it's attention, it's generosity, it's rest and impermanence, and loving kindness. So I hope this was helpful for you. Definitely pick one, try it out for a week, and be in touch and let me know how it goes. And I will connect with you again soon.